Hiya! Welcome to Sniper's Rest. Sniper's Rest is the last best rest stop in the here and there, the place between where you're coming from and where you're going. I am Sniper Shadow and I reside here in Sniper's Rest as a guide and custodian to those who pass through the here and there. I visit the worlds within the multiverse often, but I am always here to guide and care for travelers such as yourself that pass through the here and there. Welcome, my friend. I hope this week finds you well. We are most busy here in the here and there. Spring has just sprung into action, and I'm currently working on resowing the vegetable patch. With Frank's help, of course. Come, sit. And as always, please take a rest here before continuing your journey. Today we continue reading the series of short stories by H.P. Lovecraft. This tale takes a turn from the macabre and into the world of spoof stories. Ibid is a mock biography of the Roman scholar Ibidus, written by Lovecraft in 1927. It was first published in the January 1938 issue of Owash Tanong. Let's have a bit of fun. The erogenous idea that Ibid is the author of the lives is so frequently met with, even among those pretending to a degree of culture, that it is worth correcting. It should be a matter of the general knowledge that Conqueror is responsible for this work. Ibid's masterpiece, on the other hand, was the famous in the work cited wherein all the significant undercurrents of Graeco-Roman expression were crystallized once and for all, and with admirable acuteness notwithstanding the surprisingly late date at which Ibid wrote. There is a false report, very commonly reproduced in modern books prior to von Schweppenkopf's monumental History of the Ostrogoths in Italian, that Ibid was a Romanized Visigoth of Astolf's horde who settled in Placentia about 410 AD. The contrary cannot be too strongly emphasized, for von Schweppenkopf, and since his time Little Wit and Benure, have shewn with irrefutable force that this strikingly isolated figure was a genuine Roman, or at least as genuine a Roman as the degenerate and mongrelized age could produce, of whom one might well say what Gibbon said of Bossuet, that he was the last whom Cato or Tully could have acknowledged for their countrymen. He was, like Boethius, and nearly all the intimate men of his age, of great Arcanian family, and traced his genealogy with much exactitude and self-satisfaction to all the heroes of the Republic. His name, long and pompous according to the custom of an age which had lost the trinomial simplicity of classic Roman nomenclature, is stated by von Schweppenkopf to have been Canis Arnicus Magnus Furius Camalius Emilius Cornelius Valerius Pompeius Julius Ibidus, though Little Wit rejects Emilius and adds Claudius Decus Juanus, while Betnor differs radically, giving the full name as Magnus Furius Camillus Aurelius Antonius Flavius Ancussus Petronius Valentinius Agades Ibidus. The eminent critic and biographer was born in the year 486, shortly after the extinction of the Roman rule in Gaul by Clovis. Rome and Ravenna are rivals for the honour of his birth, though it is certain he received his rhetorical and philosophical training in the schools of Athens, the extent of whose suppression by Theodosius a century before is grossly exaggerated by the superficial. In 512, under the benign rule of the Ostrogoth Theodoric, we behold him as a teacher of rhetoric at Rome. And in 516 he held the consulship together with Pompilius Numantius Bombastus Marcilianus Detromantus. Upon the death of Theodoric in 526, Ibidus retired from public life to compose his celebrated work, whose pure Cironian style is a remarkable case of classic aviotism, as is the verse of Claudius Claudanus, who flourished a century before Ibidus. But he was later recalled to the scene of pomp to act as a court rhetorician for Theodosius, the nephew of Theodoric. The usurpation of Vitiges Ibidus fell into disgrace and was for a time imprisoned. But the coming of Byzantine Rome army under Belarus soon restored him to liberty and honours. Throughout the siege of Rome, he served bravely in the army of the defenders, and afterwards followed the eagles of Belisarius to Alba, Porto, and Centum Sali. After the Frankish siege of Milan, Ibidus was chosen to accompany the learned bishop Datius to Greece, and resided with him at Corinth in the year 539. About 541, he removed to Constantinople, where he received every mark of imperial favour from both Justinanus and Justinus II. The Emperor Tiberius and Maurice did kindly honour to his old age, and contributed much to his immortality, especially Maurice, whose delight it was to trace his ancestry to old Rome, notwithstanding his birth at Abacus in Cappadocia. It was Maurice who, in the poet's 101st year, secured the adoption of his work as a textbook in the schools of the empire, an honour which proved a fatal tax on the aged rhetorician's emotions, since he passed away peacefully at his home near the church of St. Sophia on the 6th day before the calends of September, AD 587, in the 102nd year of his age. His remains, notwithstanding the troubled state of Italy, were taken to Ravenna for interment, but being interred in the suburb of Classe, were exhumed and ridiculed by Lombard Duke of Spoleto, who took his skull to King Othorius to use as a wassalibo. Ibid's skull was proudly handed down from king to king of the Lombard line. Upon the capture of Povara by Charlemagne in 774, the skull was seized from the tottering Darius and carried in the train of Frankish Conqueror. It was from this vessel, indeed, that Pope Leo administered a royal unication which made of the hero nomad a holy Roman emperor. Charlemagne took Ibid's skull to the capital in Aix soon afterwards, presenting it to his Saxon teacher Alcuin, upon whose death in 804 it was sent to Achilles' kinfolk in England. William the Conqueror, finding it in an abbey niche where the pious family of Alcuin had placed it, believing it to be the skull of a saint who had miraculously annihilated the Lombards by his prayers, did reverence to its osseous antiquity, and even the rough soldiers of Cromwell, upon destroying the Balliol Abbey in Ireland in 1650, it having been secretly transported thither by a devout Baptist in 1539, upon Henry VIII's dissolution of the English monasteries, declined to offer violence to a relic so venerable. It was captured by the pirate soldiers Reedham and Weep Hopkin, who's not too long after traded it to rest in Jehovah Stubbs for a quid of New Virginia weed. Stubbs, upon sending forth his son Zerubbabel to seek his fortune in New England in 1661, he thought ill of the restoration atmosphere for a pious young yeoman, gave him St. Ives, or rather Brother Ives, for he abhorred all that was popish, skull as a talisman. Upon landing in Salem, Zerubbabel set it up in his cupboard beside the chimney, he having built a modest house near the town pump. However, he had not been wholly unaffected by the Restoration influence, and having become addicted to gaming, lost the skull to one Epnus Dexter, a visiting freeman of Providence. It was in the house of Dexter, in the northern part of the town, near the present intersection of North Main and Olney Streets, on the occasion of Canon Chetcher's raid of March 30, 1676, during King Philip's War, and the astute Chasm, recognizing it once as a thing of singular venerableness and dignity, sent it as a symbol of alliance to a faction of the Pequots in Connecticut, with whom he was negotiating. On April 4, he was captured by the colonists and soon after executed, but the austere head of Ibid continues on its wanderings. The Pequots enfeebled by a previous war, could give the now stricken Narragansets no assistance, and in 1680 a Dutch fur trader of Albany, Petrus van Schnack, secured the distinguished cranium for the modest sum of 2 guilders, he having recognized its value from the half-effaced inscription carved on the Lombardic minuscules. Paleography, it might have been explained, was one of the leading accomplishments of New Netherland fur traders of the 17th century. From Van Schnack, sad to say, the relic was stolen in 1683 by a French trader, Jean Grenier, whose popish zeal recognized the features of one of whom he had been taught at his mother's knee to revere as St. Ibid. Grenier fired with victorious rage at the possession of this holy symbol by a Protestant, crushed Van Schnack's head one night with an axe, and escaped to the north with his booty. Soon, however, being robbed and slain by a voyager, Michael Scavard, who took the skull, despite the illiteracy which prevented his recognizing it, to add to a collection of similar but more recent material. Upon his death in 1701, his son Pierre traded it, among other things, to some emissaries of the Sacs and Foxes. It was found outside the chief's tepee, a generation later, by Charles de Langard, founder of the trading post at Green Bay, Wisconsin. De Langard regarded this sacred object with proper veneration and ransomed it at the expense of many glass beads. Yet after his time, it found itself in many other hands, being traded to settlements at the head of Lake Winnebago, to tribes around Lake Mendota, and finally, in the early 19th century, to one Solomon Genoux, a Frenchman, at the new trading post of Milwaukee on the Menominee River and the shore of Lake Michigan. Later traded to Jacques Cabaret, another settler, it was in 1850 lost in a game of chess or poker to a newcomer named Hans Zimmermann, being used by him as a beer stein until one day, under the spell of its continence, he suffered it to roll from his front stoop to the prairie path before his home, where, falling into the burrow of a prairie dog, it passed beyond his power of discovery or recovery upon his awakening. So, for generations did the sainted skull of Canius Annius Magnus Furius Camillus Aemilius Cornelius Vanerius Pompeius Julius Ibidus, consul of Rome, favourite of emperors, and saint of the Romanish Church, lie hidden beneath the soil of a growing town. At first worshipped with dark rites by the prairie dogs, who saw it as a deity sent from the upper world, it afterwards fell into dire neglect as the race of simple, artless burrowers succumbed before the onslaught of the conquering Iranian. Sewers came, but passed by it. Houses went up, 2,303 of them, and more. And the last fateful night a Titan thing occurred. Subtle nature convulsed with a spiritual ecstasy, like the froth of the region's quondam beverage. Laid low the lofty and heaved high the humble, and behold, in the rose-sealed dawn the burghers of Milwaukee rose to find a former prairie turned to a highland. Vast and far-reaching was the great upheaval. Subterrane arcana, hidden for years, came at last to the light. For there, full in the rifted roadway, lay bleached and tranquil in bland, saintly, and consular pomp, the dome skull of Ibid. That concludes our tale for this week, my friend. Please return next week and we will continue with another short story by H.P. Lovecraft. If you wish to rest some more, please find a space that suits you. Whether you curl up by the fire, partake in some food and beverages in our kitchen, take a nap in one of our many rooms, or take a stroll around the garden. Please know you are always welcome at Sniper's Rest, my friend. If you are continuing your journey, the multiverse has a wonderful selection today. To the north, you are alone. You will build a creature, a partner, a wet, warm heart, a collection of bones. To the west, seized by a rogue AI, you must do its bidding in a distant part of the universe. seeking remnants of a lost civilization, and uncover their long-buried secrets. Another alien nightmare. To the east, time to leave the big city behind again. On your way to an island to start a farm. Meet creatures of the land, help them restore nature, help the ocean, grow crops, and pet dogs. What more could you ever need? And if you're making your own way out there, good luck, my friend. Wherever you end up, wherever you come from, and wherever you're going, thank you for spending some time here with us at Sniper's Rest. Remember to take care of yourself, be kind to others, hydrate, take a moment to look out into the world and marvel at how incredible it all is. How incredible you are, friend. Until next time, please take care on your way.